Welcome to The Author Show, where we feature new authors and books, from fiction to self-help and everything in between. You'll find it all at theauthorshow.com. That's theauthorshow.com. And now let the show begin.
Hello and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming program author Nicholas Kowerko, and he is the author of Peace Perception, The Movement in Sight. Before I bring in today's guest, quick reminder that selected interviews are available at our website, as well as on major platforms like Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and many more. Nicholas, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on the Author Show.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So my name is Nicholas Kowerko, and I'm a university professor. I teach theater, and Peace Perception is my first book.
So tell us about your book.
So Peace Perception is a commentary on spiritual practice. It's an analysis of karma and verses from the Bible, different sources of spiritual literature. I say that it's spiritual, but it's not religious. And I like to think of it as a guide to a guide. So people who have a sense of spirituality in their life can use this book and approach other spiritual practice. There's poetry in the book as well. I include a stream of uplifting affirmations and poems of encouragement that people can use in their daily life.
Now, who did you write your book for specifically? Who's your target audience here?
So my book is best for people who have some kind of spiritual background. I would say it's best for young adults, maybe getting out of high school, going into college, through anyone in their 20s or 30s. It's really for people who maybe grew up in the church or grew up with some kind of spiritual practice, whether it's prayer, meditation, maybe people who do yoga, people who are interested in crystals and energy and so forth. I think this book would really appeal to them. And more specifically, it's for people who find themselves in a time of transition, like a time of life is shifting in some way, and people who are trying to make sense of their feelings in the midst of that transition, people who are navigating maybe difficult relationships, and people who are kind of just having a tough time moving on from the past. I hope that Peace Perception can offer some gentle encouragement and context to help people as they're navigating what their next chapter might be.
So could you say there's any type of central message or perhaps underlying theme that you would say runs throughout your book?
Yeah, so the name of the book is Peace Perception, with an undertitle of The Movement in Sight. So the movement in sight, I think, is certainly central to the message of the book. Basically, the idea is, when we're in life, we are obviously navigating different jobs, different relationships, different responsibilities, different things that we have to do. And within all of those things are certainly going to be a level of emotional charge. And so what I'm saying with my book is that there's always going to be these things that are moving in front of us in our life. The movement of jobs, the movement of where you live, the movement of where you go. And underneath all of the movement, through all of the movement, above all of the movement, you can find a peace perception that no matter what is happening in your life, I do believe that it's possible for you to find a level of peace and balance and centeredness within that context.
So if you had to choose, what would you say is the single most important idea you're sharing in your book that's really going to add value to the reader's life?
I think to have people feel their feelings. I think the number one thing, certainly with my book, that I really try to drive home is that too often, as we're in the responsibilities of life, that we're pushing down our feelings, we're ignoring our feelings, we're saying, oh, I'll deal with that later, or I can't think about that right now. I don't have the emotional energy to cope with this. And what I'm saying is, I think if we really did just take the time to investigate what's happening internally, what are the emotions? How do I really feel about this? A lot of people walk through life not realizing just how angry they are or just how sad they are. And if we really do stop and honor those feelings and take a look at those feelings, then it only serves us. It only helps us to slow down, take a breath. What am I experiencing right now? Because that kind of just helps. It helps to center us. It helps to balance us. And then, I mean, the paradox is then we are more prepared to handle relationships, jobs, and transitions in life.
Now, if you were asked to compare your book with any book out there we might already be familiar with, which book would it be and why?
The one that immediately comes to mind is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. His book is a wonderful book and so much about just being present with what's happening, being present in the now. I mean, it's the power of now. And I think there are similar impulses and similar themes and subject matter in my book, Peace Perception, both of which are just really dealing with presence and the idea that the past is over, the future isn't here yet, and all we have is the moment that's just right here in front of us. I would also say I reference A Course in Miracles a lot. A Course in Miracles, edited by Dr. Helen Schuckman, is a spiritual program, and there are many books about A Course in Miracles, actually, which is so interesting that you have this spiritual program from the 70s and 80s, and since then there have been so many books written about it. And I would consider my book to be part of that train because I have been deeply affected and deeply inspired by A Course in Miracles as well.
So does your book have journal exercises or daily tasks?
So it does not. My book does not have journal exercises. It does not have daily exercises. I often like to say that Peace Perception is a guide to a guide. So a person could read Peace Perception and it gives them a certain context of how to approach spiritual work. So my goal is that someone could read Peace Perception and then they could go read another personal growth book and they feel a little bit more prepared to do the exercises, the journals, the daily tasks in that book. Because what I'm trying to do in my book is really try to investigate the container, the context, the big picture out of which one might do prayer, one might do meditation or yoga. So my book certainly has a central focus of feeling your feelings, but that's less of a journal exercise or an action-oriented task and more so a perception.
Well, how can people start putting the ideas from your book into practice?
If a person just pauses, a person can put ideas from my book into practice by doing nothing. A person can put down the book and even just sit in your chair and take a moment just silently in the room and notice what is happening within your body. A lot of people really don't know how to feel their feelings, and it's certainly something that is endemic in our contemporary society. And people are often so focused on, well, what can I do? What is the thing that I have to do? Like, do I have to wake up early? Do I have to schedule this appointment? Do I have to, journal or write down 10 affirmations per day, or put affirmations on a Post-it note and put it on my mirror in the bathroom? And to me, the first step is just tuning in with yourself, to just take a moment and do nothing. Just sit in your chair and notice any kind of movement, any kind of feeling that is happening internally. That's a great first step.
Now, what makes your self-help book different from the others?
I have found that many self-help books, and I should also give the background that prior to writing my book, I had read dozens of self-help books about personal growth, books about psychology, self-improvement, spirituality, physics, relationships, love, etc. And in the reading of all of those books, I always found that there was a level of the book saying, hey, do this exercise and this is what's going to happen. Do this thing and then your life is going to improve dramatically. Take this task, integrate it into your daily life, and life will be better. I have found that many of those books give you instructions, but they don't address the context out of which you're doing those. So, for example, people will say, oh, you should really take up meditation. You should try meditating, which is great. I agree. Meditation is a wonderful spiritual tool to use. But when books say you should meditate, it doesn't really take in the context of a person's home environment. Like, what if a person has a certain living situation that isn't conducive to sitting down and meditating for 20 minutes twice a day? Or what if a person tries to meditate, but they're so full of distractions and emotions and they can't bring themselves to meditate, which is something that I personally experienced. So I spend a whole chapter going through different kinds of spiritual practices and just saying, hey, other self-help books are going to tell you to do this, but here's the context. Here's some other interstitial factors that I want you to keep in mind as you're approaching this work. So again, we return to that peace perception is a guide to a guide.
So if readers walk away with just one key insight from your book, what do you hope that would be?
My hope for people who read Peace Perception is not necessarily that they have another thing that they're thinking about. It's not that, oh, I have a new idea, I have a new intellectual thing that I can mull over in my head. My hope for anyone who picks up a copy of Peace Perception is that they find a new emotional perspective on something. I hope that people read Peace Perception and then they feel a little lighter about life, that they're able to find, even just a little bit, but they're able to find peace perception.
So in your opinion, who should buy your book?
The people who should buy my book, the people who would be interested in this, are anyone who already has some kind of footing in spiritual practice. So whatever that means for you, it could be that you grew up as a Christian, or you are a practicing Buddhist, or you like to meditate, or you're interested in crystals. There's dozens of kinds of interests and endeavors within spiritual practice. So whatever your background is, it doesn't matter, because my book certainly combines a lot. I combine a lot of different perspectives from different spiritual practices and contexts. So anyone who has been on the spiritual journey in some way, whatever that means to you, and you're trying to make sense of your feelings, you're trying to make sense of a life transition, and you just want to find more peace in your life, and you feel like you can invite in this perception.
So how can readers find out more about you and your book?
The best way would be to go to Amazon and search for my name and the book title. So you could search Peace Perception, the Movement in Sight, and search Nicholas Kowerko on Amazon.
Could you spell your name for us, please?
Sure. So it's Nicholas, Nicholas, and last name Kowerko, Kowerko.
This has been just great. Our guest today has been Nicholas Kowerko, and he is the author of Peace Perception, the Movement in Sight. Nicholas, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. Go out there, buy the book today, and please share this interview with your friends so they too have the opportunity to discover our guests and their work. The Author Show can be accessed at any time at theauthorshow.com. And whether you're an author who would like to be featured or a reader in search of new books to read, The Author Show is a great place to start. Check us daily as we continue to introduce wonderful authors of very interesting books on The Author Show.
Thanks for listening to The Author Show.